I guess in terms of student voter turnout, I believe, and again, don't quote me on it, but we have one of the highest turnouts of any school that I know of. Last year's election was the highest that I know of in terms of definitely Atlantic schools. But, I mean, that's always a tough question about representation, and absolutely, it's the right question to ask. And especially when you're dealing with the VP External portfolio and you're going to Ottawa or you're going to Fredericton and you're advocating on behalf of the student body that, yes, you try to engage with, and sometimes it's less than you would hope, but that's what we're here for. And I think instead of standing up here and saying, I believe, I stood up here and said, I want to act as a facilitator and a hub for connection, and I want to act as a facilitator and a hub for people to come forward, and I hope that I come off as an approachable guy, and that's how I see that role.
Brought up in council last year while I was on council is that electronic voting. I know that I talked to a few CROs, which we had a few last year, about the possibilities of electronic voting. So it's certainly something to study. We release our credit card information, our course information, and a lot of personal information via Connect. So there's certainly secure ways of doing it. Email will be one of them. So it's certainly something to study. I'm not sure whether, look at how the effectiveness of other organizations. Of course, from what I understood, we did have relatively high turnout, especially on-campus students. Now that's also true that off-campus students barely vote, which is the other thing I looked at. So I think online voting, internet or electronic voting, that was the word. Electronic voting would be certainly one way to improve that. It's something to look into. Thank you.
Well, I know that there's actually one of our student senators is working on a presentation on online voting. It's something that would just quickly touch on that issue. As for representing a 30% of the actual population voting, not 30% or whatever, that is scary. You are always going to run the risk of doing something that some people aren't going to like. A lot of the things in my platform, I think that people will either be for or being partial to. I can't see too many people objecting the library hours being extended to many students. Scholarship research is something that students without scholarship might have issues in that I'm not addressing anything related to financial needs or other things, but then at the same time I'm looking at textbooks and trying to make those a little bit more affordable. So I am trying to address the greater community while at the same time being sensitive to those who aren't necessarily included in all demographics.
That platform really, I really just wanted to help the students, wanted to make decisions that every student would be happy for, and also hopefully demonstrate that I could facilitate movements towards things that only certain groups of students will really appreciate. But our campus is really divided up into a bunch of certain groups of students. And obviously I didn't know the demographics of who turned out to vote, so I don't think it would be possible to target just the people who do turn out to vote. But it really comes from here, and I really just want to reach out to all you people and tell you that I really feel I can help you in general.
Thanks, Julie. And Mark was right about that we do have one of the higher voter turnouts. As far as student numbers go in Canada, we're not as bad as like a U of T that gets like 3% turnout. But part of the great thing about that is that we're such a small school. We have everybody harassing people at Neil Hall, the student center, and the library, getting them to vote. But the way I find a lot of people vote, and actually I remember going over this a year or two ago, is that often the person who wins is the person with the most Facebook friends. It's really a name recognition thing. It's the way it is, it's the way it works in real elections, just as it works here. There's not a lot we can do about that. Hopefully you get a council together that is willing to discuss issues. I've always thought of myself as the person who's going to criticize and sort of provoke that critical thought in council meetings and really get into that dialectic process and out pops hopefully a good idea. So that's maybe the way I look at it, that, it's an unfortunate reality, but it's a reality we have to deal with, that, maybe students at Mount Allison are not the most engaged, although this crowd that came in tonight, pretty impressed by that. So I still have that hope. I'm a positive person, and, hopefully we can do something to not sure if it's online voting or not, but you know, I think if you elect people and hopefully have people that are doing good jobs and are legitimately trying to help students, that it's not as important in the end, as long as they're doing good hard work. Thank you.
I think that one important way that the SAC does reach out to students at large is its inclusion of students at large on committees. A lot of the very important decisions that the SAC makes are made in committees, and on committees there are students at large that are appointed. I think that an excellent way of promoting that, one of the things this year that the SAC has made leaps and bounds in is its communications. I credit our Vice President of Communications and the communications team for that. The thing about communications, though, is that it's ever evolving. And I think that we need to continue to develop our communications. One avenue that is always kind of in need of updates and evolution is our website. And I think ultimately if we can make our website something that people check every day, like they check the Mount Air website, like they check webmail, if we can make that an avenue for students to really do on their own time, then I think we can present those opportunities in kind of a more user-friendly way. The opportunities exist. I think it's just a matter of continuing to communicate them and continuing to think of how communication is going to change and adjusting to those changes.
Yeah, everything's pretty much been touched on, but it is, voting is your way of sort of saying how you want SAC to run, and it is a question of engaging the students in order to have that say. To do that, obviously you want to try and use communication and maybe new ways of voting, such as electronic voting, in order to get more people out and make it more accessible, I guess you'd say. Again, like Eric said, a lot of the things in my portfolio are sort of either yay or sort of it's like it's not so. Therefore, if people have a say, it's going to be more of a positive say rather than a negative say. So, having had a year of elections last year, I don't know, as a frost coming in and not really knowing the SAC, and then having a year of crazy elections all the time, it was kind of a put-off. But having this year, seeing sort of a more direct, more together SAC, I know that sort of that people being able to see that sort of togetherness would make them more engaged to vote, I guess. I don't know, at least for me. So